I've got exciting news before we start this podcast. We finally have a sponsor that has jumped on for this episode. So we've teamed up with Neo and their new energy pouches. Never seen something like this before. There's no crash, caffeine that's clean. I'm going to show you how you chuck them on. You just pretty much put them on your gum, 15 minutes, bang, you're on the money. Let's go. I'm going to open this one up. On the inside of the lid as well, they've got a code here and you can claim Neo points for every can. You get rewards on onlywithneo.com. So you've got the pouches here. Then what you do is you put it under your lip. It's like that. Fits in pretty good. Tastes nice. All right, I had it in for about 20 minutes. It was honestly really good. No burning, no nothing. I feel good. Usually when I have like a can of Red Bull or something, within the first 20 minutes when I have it, I feel jittery as shit. But I feel really focused, really good. It tasted nice. Another cool thing about Neo is they're the world's first Web3 energy product that is powered by the LIMITLESS token that offers multiple benefits to its users. All in all, it's a really exciting product that isn't just one thing. There's so much around it. It does work. I feel fucking great. We've got a discount code for 15% off. Hop on, support us. This is huge for us. Enjoy the episode and thank you to Neo. Head down to the link to get that discount. Let's go. All right, we are back. Episode 10 of the Headquarters podcast. Starting off the year with a sick one and kind of just starting off this year for the podcast. I want to branch out and really open up the lens to the community and the space. And although we are still heavily tied into the hip hop scene, I want to get on other creative and just crazy people that I know. And one of those people that is a creative stuntman, whatever you want to call him, absolute legend, my good friend Rohan Wilcox. How you going, brother?
Good, mate. Good. It's a pleasure to be on here. Seeing all this like kind of come into fruition is amazing. And yeah, I'm stoked to jump on.
Well, yeah, you were up here early days when I first kind of got the space. So it's good. It's a full circle moment. But I even think when you were up here in those times, you probably weren't doing as much as what you are doing now. Like It's been sick to see your growth. And for anyone that doesn't know, but you'll definitely know from the title with whatever we choose it to be, we were having a feed beforehand trying to come up with names. So whatever it is the best one that we got. Oh, I've actually forgot to introduce, of course, good homie Oscar. I've got Oscar on just due to the relevance to what Rohan does with the cliff jumping, and Oscar's got a bit of a background in, you've got like gymnastics and
parkour, free running, a little bit of gymnastics. I actually started out doing trampolining, similar to you. So bit of a full circle one.
Well, yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know Rohan or what he does, cliff jumper, videographer, business owner, gymnastics, trampoline. Anything else I'm missing?
No, not much.
But yeah, Rohan does some pretty crazy stuff. And I guess my first question and the way to get the ball rolling was, why do you do what you do with the cliff jumping?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a good question. I think the feeling that you get from cliff jumping when you work so hard for something and then you do it and you land and you're in the water with some of the most amazing people, the feeling doesn't really top it. And I guess each trick that you do, you're like, oh, what if you could do this? What if you could keep pushing it? What if you could keep going the height? So I think that's what kind of keeps him going, the motivation of wanting to kind of push the sport further, especially in Australia.
Yeah.
That's kind of my main,
How'd you get into it? What was like the first, like the first steps? How does one become a cliff jumper to your, what is like your first memories of cliff jumping, or how does one start that sort of thing?
Definitely. I grew up doing a lot of trampolining, gymnastics, always just kind of like doing flips and stuff. And then I saw a video on social media of this huge cliff jump back in the day. His name was Chase Ranford. Did like a 33-meter cliff jump. And back then it was like crazy. It was like...
Was this in Australia?
No, this was in the US.
Okay.
And then I kind of started doing it a little bit occasionally. And then it's more when I met the kind of community in Australia that I was like, wow, this is such a cool thing. Kind of kept going from there and just kind of kept getting better. And it was like, just the possibilities.
When did you start with the cliff jumps? You said you've been trampolining since you were young.
Mm.
How old were you when you first started
cliff jumping?
Proper sort of cliff jumping?
I think when I was about, 2018, 2019, I think I first hit my first kind of few cliff jumps, but it was around kind of more 2021 where I think I did my first kind of 20-meter cliff jump.
That's not even that long ago.
Yeah.
That's like when you see what you've done, I'd expect that you've been doing that your entire life. Do you find that a lot of the guys that you're with now come from like a similar sort of athletic background of like the trampolining and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. A lot of people come from parkour, other backgrounds, and then come into it. But yeah, I think it's special how I kind of transitioned through there. And then, but when I first hit the first, I think 20 meters, which is kind of, for any regular person, there'd be like a really big, huge cliff. But in cliff jumping, 20 meters is like a really standard. It's almost
so it's like entry level.
Almost.
That's nice to think about. Hey?
What's like insane? What's the insane height?
I think like if you're hitting even if you're hitting really good tricks off 20 to 25 meters, you're really good. But I think height wise, I think for me anyway, a 30 meter is just kind of puts you down as a really good cliff jumper, because 30 meters, like you can die from that height, you know?
Really?
Definitely.
Just from the impact. If you were to land wrong, for instance.
If you land straight on your back, straight on your head, like you could break something. And it's not about also how fast you're going. It's more like a lot of the spots that we're hitting, there's heaps of waves. To get out, you need all your strength, you know? Even if you...
Especially after sorry to cut you off. So after you jump, like, to have that strength and stuff, you'd have a bit of an adrenaline dump, do you think, as well? Once you've done it, it'd be like, whoa, because you got to hype yourself up to do it, and then,
yeah. I think the adrenaline definitely keeps with you. If you do fail, but I think, if you're hitting those heights up to 30 meters, like, I think a lot of you have to be really switched on with what you're doing. You have to really train for quite a long time, both mentally and physically, because to mentally stand on top of a cliff that you're like, holy shit, this could, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm sure people have a lot of questions about the preparation that goes into the jumps, and especially depending on the size of the cliff. Yeah. And then the trick that you choose to go with. So maybe just talk them through a bit of the process mentally that you go through.
Yeah. So I think it just depends on what trick and height it is, but the process is obviously training kind of drills up. Let's say if I was to hit a quad from 25 meters, I'd make sure I'm physically trained.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Like a quad what?
Yeah, so 4 flips. 4 flips.
He just says it so casually.
So 4 flips.
But for something like that, like, there's a lot of mental training. There's a lot of physical training. We're hitting stuff in the gym, and then we come out, hit stuff off lower. So there's like a long preparation. I know of people have had months and months of preparation for one jump, for example. Yeah. Which makes it really special, because I think when you put so much hard work into something and then it goes as you imagined, I think it's really, and that's what makes it so.
And it is crazy as well, because in the form of how I guess you post these flips and these massive cliff jumps, it is literally like a max 10-second reel. And people probably see that and go, whoa, what the hell? But they don't actually take into account what you just said there. Like, you're in the gym training this, and then you're also on the smaller cliffs or even on the trampoline training this as well. For say like your biggest jump, what's the biggest, like the meters that you've done the most?
So the highest I've done is about 30 meters. Yeah. But off 30 meters, I wasn't doing as hard tricks as I would off lower. I think, but still, like for 30 meters, you have to be so certain that you're landing on your feet, you know? Whereas a 25 meter, some of the time I've hit tricks that I've never done before. And straight on 25 meters is also really intimidating, because it's like, I've never done this trick before. It's off 25 meters. You're hitting the water around like 80, 85 kilometers an hour. So there are serious consequences. But I think the main thing is you just kind of got to trust yourself. Yeah. You got to trust the preparation. You got to trust everything about it. And if you can do that, then you kind of enter a flow state where you count down and you're just so focused and you just know that you'll be all right.
What do you like when you just jumped and throughout the air? What is going through your mind when you've left the earth and then it's just like free fall?
Yeah, I think maybe 5 seconds before I'm gonna jump, I might have a few last second thoughts just of what to do. But as soon as I count down, so in cliff jumping, lots of people go 3, 2, 1, and then they go. And I think for me that's really special because whenever I hit 3, I don't think I'm really thinking about anything else. I'm just so focused.
Yeah, that'd be
and
crazy.
Then through the flip, especially the really hard ones, I don't really remember it because you have so much adrenaline and it's hard for you to remember every little detail. But it's a really cool feeling, especially when you're doing crazy and then you come out and then you land on your feet. And then I think the best feeling is when you land on your feet and then you almost just celebrate like underwater and then you come up. Cause and especially when you know it's like really clean too. It's like, wow.
Do you have your eyes open during that? Is it just like colors and shit going everywhere?
Yeah.
Or do you close your eyes? What do you usually do? It depends
what for. Like, I mean, usually I feel like I keep them open for the whole thing. Just cause you have to. So for singles and doubles, which is just like a single flip and a double flip, if you're doing them, you see the whole way and it's a cool feeling. But when you're doing all the flips and twists, it's really hard for you to almost kind of know exactly where you are at all time and be able to be like, oh, yeah, that's water, that's cliff. But I think if you get in the routine of like just like training all that stuff off lower, it kind of gets like embedded in your mind and you're like, it's like almost muscle memory, I think. It's not like you're making the decisions as in your head. It's like your body's making them for you.
So speaking of muscle memory and getting comfortable with the tricks mentally and then physically as well. Yeah. From like a competitive sense, does it change? Because I imagine you've competed in competitions, not just in Australia, but throughout Europe. So I know the mental game would definitely change there when you've got a crowd watching you. You're under pressure to hit something, to do something big and to make yourself proud as well. So what's the thought process there?
Definitely. I think for me personally, it doesn't really change the nerves as much. Like it definitely does help a lot. But even if there was no people there, if there was no one there, I'd be getting just like similar nervousness. Just it's more about the trick for me, not about who's watching. I think people watching is almost more fun because it's like it gives a chance for you to really hit something cool, and I feel like it almost helps you in a way. But I think the mental prep is just, it's really, I think just mentally, just kind of going through the trick that you want to do, trusting it, and obviously committing to it.
Dude, the sickest thing, I'm going to butcher this. You guys are like at the top of the cliff and like the European guys, they're just like, on l'entend toi, cut, and then they send it. So sick. I love those clips. I scream that at the start.
Yeah, no, I mean, a competition's really cool and especially when you've got a big crowd, because when you say 3, it's like a fucking, it's like a big.
Is everyone counting down? Yeah, everyone.
So it's so loud that like you're just so focused in, and then, it's. Have
you ever been counting down? So they can have 3, 2, and then on the 1 you go, nah. Yeah.
Definitely.
What is going through your head when that happens?
It's more for me, if it's a standing trick that I'm doing, so I'm just taking off standing and not running, then it doesn't matter. Like I think I'll go off, like I'll go no matter what. But the only time I will be like, nah, take it back is if I misstep the steps.
True, yep.
So for example, whenever you're hitting like a running one, you've got specific like kind of step process that you're taking, and then if one feels really off, usually I'll be like if you just kind of misstep it, then I'll be off. And I think that's just more like around kind of sea cliffs that you kind of, and that's like the other thing, you have to adapt so much in the sport.
Yeah, to your environment.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like you got to really think about stuff. You got to, and even I think, like being able to adapt to getting out, to the jump, the lead up, the takeoff, it's all different. I think that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah. And with some of these crazy spots that I've seen you hit that are cliffs, how do you even find like a spot to get out when it's literally just like cliff face?
Yeah.
Have you got to swim for like, 500 meters or like quite a while to find a spot to get out?
Yeah. I mean, some spots, you definitely have to swim 200-300 meters to get out.
Jeez.
You'd be pretty gassed after that as well.
Yeah.
So and with the current smashing up,
I think that's probably similar time the hardest jumps that I do is getting out because the waves are coming in and like you're in the middle of nowhere. There's no reception. If you can't get out, like you might drown. There's a few people on the top of the cliff, but it's really hard for them to kind of do anything.
So when you rock up to a cliff, because a lot of the clips you see, there's guys waiting for you down in the water to like, if something goes wrong, they're going to help you out. Do they jump in first?
Yeah. So, I mean, safety is a big thing for us. And I guess whenever it's kind of a big cliff, we always have people in the water.
Yeah. So
usually
like just pin drop down before you.
Yeah. Usually they might do something a little bit easier, or they will just go in just walk down. I think it depends, but I think spotters is probably the most crucial thing about cliff jumping for them to get you. But I think it really opens up when it's hard for the spotters to be able to be in that water. I've had times where I'm hitting a cliff jump and it's hard enough for the spotters to be able to swim and keep up, and you kind of think
because the waves are coming in, it's just crazy.
It's so hectic, and you kind of think like, if I stuff up right now, they probably wouldn't even really be able to help me too much. And I think that's where you really got to change the mindset of, especially what trick you're doing and how to do it, because I'm not hitting something that I've never done before into like the gnarliest kind of water, and I think that's a kind of part of it.
So you just said there before how spotters are such a crucial part to the whole process. And I guess like these would be people that and they would be people so like heavily involved in the community and stuff like that. What is that community like? I know we spoke before when we just got a feed and how you kind of said that it's all over the world. It seems like so inviting and so everyone just gets about each other. It doesn't seem like, from what I've seen, everyone just like bigs everyone up. It doesn't seem as competitive unless there's a comp and you're still like, you know what I mean? I think it seems like a really cool sort of community.
Yeah. I think the community is definitely my probably favorite part of it all, because you've got your closest mates supporting you, and it doesn't matter where you come from. If I went to Europe right now, cliff jumpers would greet me wherever I am and treat me the same way. And especially in like a competition, it's not like every athlete is keeping to himself. They're literally supporting each other.
Yeah, that's such
like
a
it's
cool
their
thing.
mates, and you never really see that, I feel, in a lot of other sports.
No, you don't. You don't.
That's just something, it's competitive, but it's also not at the same time, because everyone's hyping you up. And it's a really cool feeling when you hit something, you're down at the bottom, and then your mate also hits something. And it's just like, wow. Like that's just, it's that, like that feeling too is just a really cool bond. And I think that's what holds the community so strong.
So you said, even though it doesn't feel at all you're competing, but you have competed in the comps. You mentioned before when we're having a feed, you're like, you got to talk about the European competitions. What went down there? What went down there?
Europe one was a special one. It was in Ibiza. There were about 10 athletes.
Yeah.
Some of them were, I'd say, easily some of the best in the world.
Were you one of the 10?
Yeah, so I was one of the 10.
And were you picked for that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, so they don't let anyone just compete.
Yeah.
So I was picked. There was myself, one other Australian, maybe one or two Americans, and then the rest were European. But the tricks thrown there were crazy. I think there were about 6 or 7 world's firsts.
Was that the one of you on the cliff where you did the cork in cork?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Is that the one that you sent me the video one?
Yeah.
All right. We'll get it up, because the idea that we had was we're going to put it up there as well. But it's that one, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. I don't know how well we can see it from here. But maybe can you see it that well? What even is that? What did you do?
So it's going forward, so going backwards, but then also going, so it's a gainer. A 360.
So you're going forward, so you're running forward but then flipping back? Okay.
Yeah, so you're running forward, then flipping back. 360 in the first flip, and then 3 other normal flips. So it was a quad.
You can't even tell in the video. I don't see you running
Literally.
forward, back, and then 1, 2, 3. Whoa.
Yeah. So that was
How high was that?
That was about 25.
What was going through your mind beforehand?
That was just visualizing the trick. It was the last round of the competition, and I was already singing in a really good place. So I was like, the nerves and the pressure were kind of definitely pretty high, but I think I trusted myself to be able to do it. And yeah, I landed pretty well. So I was stoked about that.
What did you place in the comp?
I came third.
Yeah, mad.
Which I was stoked about.
I'm still just watching it here.
It's crazy. People don't realize how difficult that is.
Where'd you swim out for this one? So you
that
land
was to
here.
the left.
Jesus, that is nuts.
Yeah, you go pretty deep. It was to the left. It was just that spot was really easy to get out.
Okay.
It was really nice because you didn't have to worry about the waves or anything. So I think that is competitions like you probably get the most nerves for, but at the same time, I feel like I've definitely had maybe other cliff jumps which feel just as nervous because you know that there's so much safety in the competitions, where as other jumps, you're like 10 kilometers from any civilization whatsoever.
So does that mean that at a comp, you'd be more inclined to hit something like hectic like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Is that the first time you ever hit that?
So funny enough, I had 2 jumps in the competition. I've
Only
never
2?
done only 2, but I'd never done them before. They were both world's first.
Real?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So no one had
bro.
ever done it, and I kind of thought about it the day before, and I was like, yeah, why not? I feel like I got it. Landed both of them. I was so stoked. But then the other competition was just crazy. Like there were so many. The difficulty was probably the biggest.
Is this the 10 world first that you're talking about?
Yeah, no, I think there were about 5 or 6.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
And yeah, just people throwing some.
So the sport's just getting
stuff.
pushed hard at the moment. Yeah.
Do you think
Especially,
how long has that sport been alive like this sort of?
Well, people have been jumping off stuff since the 70s, 80s, but actual freestyle cliff jumping, I think around about 10 to 15 years, people have really been kind of training it. I think in the last like kind of 5-6 years, a new kind of generation have kind of came in, and the tricks that have been kind of like thrown are just on another level.
So I got a good question. Speaking of like the new generation and the next generation.
Yeah.
So like obviously these clips are going mega viral at the moment. And people are, the reach now must be crazy. Like people would be seeing it in their feeds. I know people who have no idea what free running or parkour or cliff jumping is, and they're seeing these clips. So if they're seeing them and they're inspired by them, they want to go out with their mates and, try get into it. What's the best approach and the safest approach for them?
Yeah. I think safety is obviously the key, but I think it's just kind of finding a local spot. It's good doing it with a few people too, I think. Maybe going to like a local gym or tramp park just to try do some tricks and then kind of take it out, level up, and then just kind of, keep kind of trusting yourself, pushing yourself. And I guess you kind of get into, especially if you do it with people, you progress so quick.
And I imagine like your mental game at this point is pretty switched on, and you're very aware of your own body and how when you feel right to do what you want to do. Yeah. So for someone who has less experience and maybe doesn't understand themselves as well, what advice would you give them on committing to doing certain things? Yeah,
I think it's different for everyone. I know a lot of people, if they feel bad, they just won't jump. Yep. I think for me personally, it's more about the preparation than almost a jump. I got to be able to feel, let's say I'm doing a triple back, which is 3 flips. I got to feel really comfortable on a double flip and be able to get the takeoff and the power and the rotation right before I'd be able to feel comfortable for triple. And I think it's the same with anything. I've been to spots where I've had to have done 3 or 4 drills just to find the perfect one that I liked. And then I was like, I'm going to add another flip or twist onto that. So for me, it's more about just doing drills, doing the preparation, and then, kind of going up higher.
Yeah, that seems key, hey?
It's crazy just how much, like, prep goes into. Do you reckon you'll ever do that trick again?
Yeah, for
you
sure.
think you'll? All right.
Sure.
But
Definitely.
even just that there, how much prep goes into just like you were in the air for probably like, I don't know, 3 seconds, maybe shorter, maybe a bit longer. Just how much prep goes into that moment. Like it must just feel so accomplishing.
That's what I mean.
afterwards,
Yeah, because there can be such a lead up. Like you can think, like I've had tricks which I've been thinking about for weeks and months, and then it happens in that 3 second window.
Do you like fucking dream about it? Are you dreaming about like you're sleeping, dreaming about all this crazy shit?
I wouldn't say dreaming. I'd say more keeping you up at night.
Yeah, true. We're just like can't stop thinking about it sort of thing.
You can't stop thinking. I think
You've been chatting to all the guys over in Europe as well. We've been like, hey, just sort of this, like try this at this spot.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially when you know that you're obviously doing the trick to like the next day.
Yeah.
You really think about it. And it's kind of a weird feeling.
It would be. It'd just be like, it's just that thing. Like even when I guess we've done shows to an extent, like we're not jumping off a 30-meter bloody stage into a crowd of people. But there's that. What do you do to like kind of keep that at bay? Like make sure that you get some good rest, because there'd be an extent to it where like you could overthink the trick and you've bloody like kind of blown yourself out. You're thinking about it too much and not actually what you need to do. Yeah. What do you do to just like relax?
I think for me, it's just reminding myself that when I do it, it'll be so worth it. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's just reminding myself that I've done all this stuff in the past. I know I have it. I think that's the most like important thing, just to really back yourself.
Definitely, man. No, it is crazy. I had a mental blank. I was going to say something. You go.
I was going to say we should show them the other 3 clips or the other 2.
Yeah.
And
right.
Rowan, you should break down what's kind of happening in a bit more detail so people get a clearer understanding. Because it does happen so quickly. It's really difficult if you don't know what's going on.
We'll do this, but then there's that one clip, the real viral one. I want you to break down more. Oh, we'll get that up later. There's this one that you sent before.
3, 2, 1, send it!
So that was a special one because the current was moving really fast. So it's one of those ones where you have to be...
What is that spot?
Yeah.
Is there like a wall there or something?
Yeah, so it's 2 rivers merging.
Right. That's why it looks all weird in the water.
Yeah.
So the current's just
so the current's moving really quick. So especially for safety divers, you have to time exactly where they'll be and when to jump. So and that was a 28-meter bridge. And 28 meters...
What do you mean? You have to time where they're... Oh, is that because they're up a little bit?
Yeah, so they come up and they float down and they can't... Like
they wouldn't be able to go against that stream.
No.
It's too
powerful.
much. You'd exhaust yourself and probably drown.
You wouldn't be able to do it. You'd maybe be able to hold on for 4 or 5 seconds. So
really?
You got to be able to time...
Right, that is crazy.
Yeah. So you got to be able to time when they're coming down to jump. And for a 10, 20 meter, that's fine. But this is like a 27, 28 meter bridge.
Jeez, where was this?
In Switzerland.
Yeah, mad.
Last year. But for a big, and I think I did, a triple with a 360 at the beginning. So it was a pretty big trick, pretty big height. And I think
you can see them moving.
Yeah.
Just at the end. I'll zoom in on the footage, but you see like this guy here ends up all the way down here by the time it's got done. Look, see?
True.
You can see how quick it's...
Yeah. So it was scary because you have to really like time it of when they're going and then like, let's go right now. So there's it's really hard like for you to...
That would have changed the commit as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have to be ready at this time.
You have to be ready. And that's like most people like to prepare himself. But for
how close did you... It looked like then you were the distance between the two. Have you ever like just landed straight on top of someone?
Yeah.
Because how fast would you be going through the air? Like you're going...
that height probably about around 80, 90 kilometers an hour.
Right.
So if I hit them, they'd probably get hurt more than I definitely would.
Yeah. Have you ever?
So I haven't. I've been close too. I think I remember I opened out after a really hard trick and all I see was a friend of mine who was, but I was like, damn, like I was like not that far away.
Mm.
I think it's more about, it's not on you if like you're close to them. It's more about they should kind of know. Like they got to be close, but not close enough.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
So yeah, no, I haven't.
And all the guys in there would be people that have, like they do the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, like you're not just gonna have me down in there
No.
like dying, treading water. Like Rohan, mate, come in, bro, come in. It's all good. So you're gonna have, bro. I couldn't even do that for 5 minutes. I reckon I'd be absolutely wrecked.
Yeah. So I mean, for a lot of especially the hard ones, I'll pick people out. I'll be like,
True. Yeah.
I won't you and you down there just because I trust them with my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know that they're really good swimmers.
Because I guess you
they've been
are.
doing it for
You
ages.
literally are, in a way. If something goes wrong, you are trusting them with
Yeah.
your own life to be able to get you out of there.
Yeah.
Start, if you pass out, go unconscious, start CPR, whatever the process is.
Definitely.
We spoke about it briefly. I think it'd be a good way to kind of transition into this topic. But what are the times where something has gone wrong for you, or where you've experienced like tragedy within it, or where things have gone wrong?
Yeah. I think the main, like I've seen lots of fails.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are pretty bad, but I think there's definitely one that kind of stands out. I was at this waterfall spot. I won't mention the jumper, but it was a waterfall spot. So lots of running water. Really hard for you to be able to communicate with people down the bottom.
Is that because the waterfall is so loud?
Yep, so loud. And it was really, this one specific spot, it was really deep and really murky. And they're kind of three things that kind of almost make a jump sketchy. Because if you did pass out, the murky water doesn't help at all. The running water definitely doesn't help, and how deep it is, like they would obviously sink really quick. One of the guys went off. He landed a little bit under. I was on top, so it was a bit hard for me to see. But I just don't think there was anyone obviously down there actively spotting. I think maybe the jumper thought that there might have been someone, but I think there was a big communication barrier. Maybe just a lack of maybe he just thought he had it.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, it doesn't really matter whatever it is, but I'd always like to have someone, especially in a spot like that, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's more up to the person, but he landed bad. There was no one there for him, and he literally just sank to the bottom.
Yeah, wow.
And it was a huge tragedy.
Yeah.
Especially within
Especially
the
for such a
Australian
tight-knit
scene.
community.
Definitely. It got like everyone around the world kind of heard about it.
Yeah.
There was a slightly older guy who's been doing it for ages, so it wasn't like it was just someone unexperienced, you know. It was someone really good, but I think you've got to really make sure the safety measures are in place before you kind of do it. And I think that was just a big wake-up call to kind of, especially in Australia, the safety that we really have to kind of push and actively kind of tell people about. For example, we started Sent Down Under, which is an Instagram page to kind of promote the sport within Australia, but we don't post anyone's clips unless they have a spotter in it now.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
So
that's
for
really
anyone
good.
younger, for example, they might obviously, they don't care about if they have a spur in the water, but they care if they get shouted out on a big Instagram page, you know? So we're really kind of trying to push those things
that's
to keep
wicked.
everyone
That's
safe.
a really good thing to do.
Cheers,
Big
bro.
ups for that, bro. Big ups. After what was, I guess, after that tragedy, like what was going through your mind? Like, did it just make you realize, like, I guess, somewhat of the reality of what you're doing and how like, it is just split second sort of decisions that can completely alter the path of your life?
I think it was, it was a lot of shock at the time originally because when it happened, everyone, there was just a sense of, like what just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Everyone jumped in the water, tried searching for him for like 45 minutes. Everyone was like kind of just exhausted and just still in shock, you know. I always knew the risks, I think, but I think it just made me kind of like this, make sure the safety is really there. For me anyway, though, before that, I always really had someone in the water. I think it's more about people that are jumping that don't realize that sometimes. So I think it's more about, for me, I don't think the safety stuff changed much, but it's more about pushing it more to others, I think, and really kind of educating people about it. Yeah. But I think at the same time, it's like the kind of shock that I had in my mindset just about kind of life in general was like, yeah, it can go at any point. And I think you really just got to cherish the kind of life and every moment that you have, because the fact how it can go is just kind of, crazy.
Yeah, it is. And it really, obviously you can't walk around life just thinking like any moment, but it's the reality of it. Like, and when it does happen, that's where you get that shock and everything. So,
look, I think for me anyway, it almost motivated me in a way to kind of, one, do it for the person, to push myself further.
Yeah.
To properly kind of educate people on it, because it was literally a freak accident.
Yeah.
If one of those factors weren't in place, for example, if it was at a sea cliff and it had clear water, even if it was like really washy and if it was pretty deep, even if it was clear, for example, someone would have been able to jump in, got him straight away. But the murky water and the waterfall, you sink so much quicker.
Oh, because the water splashing down.
And you literally can't see in front of your hand. It's literally just going down there, trying to feel around at all. And we couldn't even get to the bottom.
Really?
So the moment that we couldn't get to the bottom, there were about 4 or 5 of us that were in the water trying to find him. We kept going, obviously, but the moment that we couldn't get to the bottom was like, shit, like, there's nothing that we can really do.
Yeah. How did that end? What ended up happening? Like, I suppose, where were you? Oh, wait, even if you don't want to disclose that, that's fine. But is it like really isolated? Like you're just out in the middle of kind of nowhere, or was it easy to get in? Like,
no, it wasn't too much of an isolated spot. It was pretty touristy actually, which was kind of lucky in a way, because rescue divers could go in there, get his body and stuff, which was a bit of a relief, I guess. But yeah, I think it was we were all a little bit away from everything. And I think it's also, no one of our crew that was there actually knew the person really well. And I think maybe if people did know him better, maybe it'd be like, yo, like, make sure you get a spur in the water.
Yeah.
You sure about this trick, you know? But yeah, I think it's just really taking the precautions and just knowing the spot too. It's not really it's about knowing the trick and the spot. It's about, really adapting.
So obviously the spotting's important. Do you check depth of water too before you jump?
Yeah. So I get this a lot. How do you check the water? It's not too hard. I mean, it can be, but we usually just go down, usually goggles, and scout everything out. We do a big...
what are you looking for in the water when you're going down?
Well, on like a seawater spot where it's really clear, it's really easy because you can just literally duck your head down, have a good look. Yeah, it's easy, deep enough. I think the spots that can be a little bit sketchy when it comes to murky water, just because you don't exactly know where everything is. So you got to really go down there, check where every rock is. I think it gets... Like, I've been to spots where there's a rock there, then there's there, so it comes into like, you got to land perfectly in this spot. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll hit something. So it's really about...
If people kind of see a clip and they know about the spot, they should still go and check it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's some spots that you don't really need to do that. If it's like a sea spot, you don't really need to do it unless it's like... You already know it's shallow and like it depends on the tides, but I think especially for fresh water, especially for things like waterfalls, like checking the depth is like just a must, you know. It's stupid jumping a cliff without checking it. Yeah. Even if it's really convenient. Even if you have to do a 40-minute walk down to the bottom, like it's 40 minutes or like all your life, you know. It's common sense. And I think that's a big one. Like I've never jumped a spot which I know, like it's just a gamble.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good for people to know because obviously when you see the clip on social media, one, you don't understand what the person's done to get
Definitely.
there from like a personal training point of view.
Yeah.
And then also it's good that all this other safety goes behind it as
definitely.
well.
And I think, especially with, like you see, in the world of cliff jumping, it's really, really, really rare that anything goes wrong. For example, I think I know of I reckon there have been under 5 deaths that are actually professional cliff jumpers in the sport.
Yeah.
Ever. Obviously, there are injuries that have occurred, but there are people down the bottom to make sure they're okay. But I think when you hear on the news, like cliff jumper dies of waterfall and stuff, I think the news portrays that as cliff jumping itself being a really dangerous sport.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about the sport, it's about the people doing it.
Yeah.
They're
And that kind of
making it
That
dangerous.
ties into this other video that I wanted to get a reaction on. We're all watching it went out of feed before, and Rohan sent. This is so who else runs the cliff jumping down under? What's it called?
So it's called Sent Down Under.
Sent Down Under.
Pretty funny name, but it started with a good friend of mine, Hayden, and then I started posting on there as well. But yeah, we started about a year ago. It's gone almost like 80k followers now, and I think that's really cool to see in Australia because 2-3 years ago, people had done it, but it wasn't really kind of known, especially on social media and stuff. So kind of bringing it into Australia, telling people what jumps are safe and everything and how to do it safely, I think is
that
really
the
key.
only like cliff jumping page like in Australia?
In Australia, yeah, there's
like the bigger ones,
especially advocating kind of where spots are and the safety of everything is definitely the main one.
Do you get people DMing you to find out where things are and advice?
So it kind of gets, sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming because you can just keep going. But yeah, I think the most common question is where's this spot? Where's that spot? And we're pretty good we give a lot of spots out, but also we want to, if they're not already publicly known, we don't like giving them out. So for example, if there's already a cliff in a really popular town and you know that it gets heaps of attention, we wouldn't really, we can give the location to the spot because it wouldn't be hard to find out anyway, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think
and people probably shouldn't know unless they had kind of got themselves to that level anyway, right?
Yeah. But I think especially on some of the more remote and cliffs that we don't really want all the attention at, I think
I just moved.
I see this arm come across.
I just moved the mic here.
Especially the spots that we wanna not kind of get trashed, and we know it's really dangerous, so we might not give it out.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
But yeah.
Well, let's get this video up.
Yeah, I'm keen to see it.
Right. Fuck, it's funny. So this is the most viral video that you just posted. It's got,
on the Sent Down Under
it's got
page.
12 million views.
Yeah.
It's this chick doing a backflip.
Oh shit!
And then last minute it just lands on her face.
So
what was the go with it? Jeez, it looks bad from that angle.
It's really
See, just like there. Oh, yeah, lost that.
Yeah.
And how high up was that here?
So that was about 15, 16.
Just there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Would it hurt? It was about 16 meters.
Yeah.
And she rocked up to the spot. We were just chilling there. I think she saw on one of the socials or something that we were going to be there that day. She said something like she'd done cheerleading or gymnastics, and we were like, okay, but it's a 16-meter cliff, you know? You can't just maybe if you were just straight jump it, then it'd be fine. But even for any ordinary person, I don't think, even a straight jump from 16 meters is scary. And then she started putting her toes over the edge, and she was about to backflip. I jumped first, and then there were a few people down the bottom. I was chilling on the shore, and then she did that, and everyone's like,
that was her
wow.
first jump.
Yeah, first jump. She just backflipped and sent it so hard. Luckily, there were people down there in the water. Surprisingly, she was fine, really.
Not even winded, no injuries at all.
Her shins hurt a bit because she slapped the shins, but I think she was a bit lucky because she landing straight on your head is definitely better than landing straight on your back or straight on your stomach.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were definitely people down there.
Do you get that a lot? Like people rocking up and they're like, I'll do something, and you're like, don't do this, and then they do it. And
I think I think it can be, especially on our bigger tours where we might kind of promote people to come along for a day or two. It can be like, are you sure? Like, are you comfortable with this? Have you checked how deep this certain spot is? So sometimes I definitely do get nervous about, like, is this person all good? I think when it comes to that, just making sure that there are definitely people in the water and that are like definitely switched on.
Have you ever been?
Oh, you go.
I was going to say, just to focus on that, the spotter bit. Have you ever been a spotter and then something has gone wrong, someone's injured them, you've had to, like, they've gone unconscious and you've had to go and like save them and get them? Like?
Yeah. Myself, I haven't really had any bad kind of things which have happened to me, and I've had to drag them out. Like, sometimes they might land a little bit under, a little bit over, come up, and I have to just kind of give them a hand. But I've heard stories where something bad happens, let's say from like 30 meters, and they have to go under, get them, bring them up, and they're having, like, let's say, like a full seizure.
Oh, shit.
It's just crazy, and then they have to, like, get them out of the water, and that's all reemission, and get it airlifted. So it's a big process, and I think especially it's really hard, I think, for some of the spotters, because a lot of the time the spotters are best mates with whoever's jumping, and to see your mate land like that and, like, not sure if they'll be okay is a really scary feeling for them too. But I think they just have to act really quickly.
Your adrenaline would just be like, holy shit. But it'd be, even in those moments, like, trying to have all the, you know, the mindset of like, okay, this is what we need to safely do, and that whilst your adrenaline's pumping, thinking your best mate's just going to die. That's a skill that is really hard to train for, you know, like, obviously there'd be people, paramedics and all that, that'd have to train for intense shit, and then to be able to still be able to follow their, like, practice and what they've trained for, that'd be nuts, you know, like, because as much as you don't want to think about something going wrong, I think it's best to kind of plan as if it could.
Definitely. And I mean, I've never had a jump where I've actually needed someone's help. I could have done all my cliff jumps without spotters, and I think it's definitely a peace of mind having them there. Because anything can.
It's good that you guys are aware that it's a possibility, and you're not, definitely. You know, like, if it happens, then it's like, fuck, you know, we're going to deal with it. But, you know, you've taken the right measures to make sure that if something goes wrong, no one's going to be like, oh shit, what do we do? You know, you guys seem pretty dialed in terms of, like, how you're going to deal with things.
Yeah, definitely.
You spoke a bit about before the social media page you have, and I want to kind of talk about your social media journey. Like, when I first met you, you weren't posting the cliff jumps or anything, but what kind of got you, like, I guess, that hype and stuff online was the 30-day challenge, the month challenge or something.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
What was that like? How did you? I started off with each jump. Did you do that on the day, or did you, like, pre-plan it sort of vibe?
For a lot of them, I did do it within that month, but it was really, to do all of them in the same month is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you had, like, cliffs there, like in a Pacific area, it'd be fine. But all these spots were from all around Australia. For example, to get, like, a perfect 25, 24, 23 meter cliff, it's really hard to get there. And I'll kind of just explain the challenge. It was 31 days, and I think I did in January. So 1st of January, I'd post a 1 meter cliff jump. 2nd of January would be 2 meters. 20th would be a 20 meter cliff jump. So it was really entertaining. I think it was hard working every single spot out, especially when you're within the month and you're like, shit, like, what am I doing in, like, 3 days, you know? I gotta quickly do something. And then it was really hard at the time because it was really fun. It was really cool doing it. But on the 27th day is when the guy that I won't say the name, but he died. Yeah. And I was planning on doing a jump that day at the same spot.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Posted that day. So when that happened, I was just going to scrap the challenge all along. Yeah. But I gave it a day to kind of, didn't post for a day, stopped on that day and then continued the next day. which was a little bit tough kind of for me to just post, and I had to kind of act like nothing happened because it hadn't really became public yet.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but I think I put so much work into the series that I didn't want to just kind of leave it like that. And I almost wanted to dedicate it to...
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It kind of acts as like a bit of honouring the legacy of that person to continue on. And I'm sure that person, although that I don't know them, would have wanted you to continue to and carry that torch, you know what I mean? Yeah, that is pretty dope, bro. I remember watching that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was sick. It was really cool. Everyone down here was talking about it, and it was like, it also was such a good spin-off to the trend of day one of doing this, or day one of, you know, all these, like that was a big trend.
It just keeps going
but
higher.
Yours was gnarly because not everyone can do that. I can do like a day one challenge where it's like day one of like doing something really random. But to be able to like jump off a cliff, not everyone can do that. And what it brought with you, I guess, that like I saw is it like your social media grew a lot. How did you deal with that? Like that's something that I've battled with, social media metrics and numbers, and it can really kind of fizzle out your brain, and you can get really drawn in and sucked into the cloud of it. What was that like?
I think at first it was like, wow, like it's pretty cool. But I think my mindset has definitely changed from back then to now. I think when I saw I was getting this many followers a day, I was like, wow, that's so cool. But the same person at the same time, it's like I look at every single person the same, depending on how much followers they had. And as much as it was cool, I kind of take my kind of mindset back to I'm kind of like on the same level as anyone else. I'm not any high, you know, and I think that's what a lot of people have to remember. Instagram followers don't mean shit, you know. It's about how you are as a person. And I guess you see like a lot of, especially like some mates, good mates now that have hundreds and thousands of Instagram followers. I think when I first met him, I was like, wow, like this guy's so famous. He might not want to talk to every single person, for example, but those people that I've met that have all those Instagram followers are some of the nicest people. They don't care about that at all.
All right. You've made it halfway through the podcast. Quick reminder, head down into the description to get your discount code for Neo. With each of the energy pouches, there's 3 different flavors as well. There's D-God mode, which I tried this one, which is like bubblegum, lemonade, mint. They've all got the same ingredients in them. You can head online to read what they are. Product works, is legit. I'm going to be using it all the time. I'm going to need it. Head down, get the discount. Much love. Enjoy the episode.
And they hate it when you mention it because they're like, shut up.
They get so like
anything.
They get so like dehumanized from it. We were just speaking about it before, and it is true that people will kind of start to identify you with a number.
Definitely.
Like it's like, oh, that's this person. He has X amount of this, or that's this person that this. Like there's definitely like pros to it as well. Like you can get yourself in some really good situations due to the following that you have, where it's like brand deals or certain sort of opportunities in that way. But I think, what you said is really important. Like the amount of Instagram followers or metrics or anything, it doesn't matter. It's not going to like...
Yeah, I feel in terms of that as well, having a community that's so passionate about the sport is a really good way to ground yourselves.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it comes back to the passion and the people.
Definitely.
Rather than the numbers.
See, that's so different in our world.
Yeah.
Where metrics and numbers, especially when we're going into like streams and all this shit, that like in our world, I feel in the hip hop world, and some people probably watching this, Oscar and I make music, and I feel it's such a different place where people will only collaborate or take you serious if you have X amount of followers or X amount of engagement. And then I've been sucked into the funnel before where I'm just caring about that so much. But it's good to hear from your perspective that you've been able to kind of disassociate a bit from that aspect of social media, posting content because you love what you're doing. People are like getting around it and going, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. That would feel like really good.
Definitely. And I think when I started cliff jumping, I was like, wow, if I got this 24-meter cliff, like that would blow up on Instagram. But that mindset is so like has changed so much for me now. It's like I don't see it as doing it for Instagram. Sometimes I won't even post a clip if I'm not happy with it, because it's more about doing it for myself.
Yeah, that's it.
Than anything else, you know. Because if you get sucked into that path, you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the numbers.
Yeah.
And you just won't enjoy it. It'll feel
Literally.
like a chore. Like,
And I've met people that have, just done it for ages and done it solely just to kind of, or like just with anything, just to do that. And now they're at a certain amount of followers. They just don't like it as much, you know?
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it's also interesting because I've had stuff like tricks which I'm really proud of, and then they don't perform as well on social media as I thought they were. And I think a lot of people see that and just kind of discredit the trick, you know? Like, but then I think you just got to remember that it doesn't matter how many numbers it gets on a screen. Yeah. Obviously, it is cool when it blows up and there's just so much hype around it, but at the same time...
Yeah, I imagine for a new sport as well, that'd be a tough thing to battle because it's also new for everybody. It's not just yourself. Like, it's just happening to all your mates, you know, and it's new every day. It would change.
Yeah, definitely.
So on like the topic of social media, what are your goals now that I guess you've got a really good platform and a platform where you've got a voice and people are going to listen to what you say and you can inspire? What are your goals with what you've now created and got?
Yeah, I think I definitely want to kind of promote myself more on the Instagram page, not as a cliff jumper, but as an actual person.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so important if you're building kind of like a brand that people follow you for you and not just for your cliff jumps. Obviously, people will follow me mainly for my cliff jumps, but I want people to be able to follow me for who I am too, if you know what I mean. So I really want to grow that aspect. I think the main one, I think 100K Instagram followers would be cool.
Man, how far off
on my
are you
personal page? I've only got like 15K at the moment, but I know it's possible because I've spent so much of my focus growing the Alva account, Sent Down Under. That's on about 80K, and it will probably get to 100K in the next like month or so. So I know I can, but I think it's hard for me because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. If I don't like how something looks, I won't post it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the algorithm, you got to post whatever you want. Doesn't matter how bad or.
Do you reckon that comes from your videography background?
Yeah, I think a bit. How I want things to be perfect.
But I think it's funny that as well because out of that 30-day challenge, the most viewed clip is him the first day doing this. Like, we'll get it up. I'll show you.
True, actually.
It's the most. I was just like stalking your page the other day. Yeah. And I know, just stalking you, bro. No, I was looking at stuff prior to the podcast. Fucking. But it's this one.
Yeah.
It's just that.
So it was literally like, day one, a 1 meter. It's like a belly flop.
And so people are commenting like, it's just all like, oh, you fucked it up and all these things. Like, what are you doing? Like, and that's got like 1 million views.
Yeah, it's got like 2 million or something. It's 2 something.
It just shows, doesn't it? Like,
it just shows that like sometimes you can post the most random thing, and Instagram will just feed it to whoever. I think that's the one thing I don't like about kind of a lot of social media now is something that has so much work put into it, so much art, for example, will just go like nothing, and then something that is just so stupid and just like.
But see, my thought is, I think it has nothing to do. It's to do with the consumers.
Yeah.
So social media, they don't have a thing where they watch it and go, oh, this is fantastic. There's so much good. It's the consumer. It just shows what people are consuming and willing to engage with and post. So for instance, that video there, it's like day 1. I guess there's a bit of hype around that. People could be like, oh, day 1, I want to see day 30. Then plus that it's like, oh, he's just doing a backflip off the thing. There'll be a lot of that sort of thing. I think it's that. It comes down to the consumer, which is a hard thing to predict.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what sort of, like we can't really tell what someone's going to.
I think if you're making any art, it's just like a constant battle. You really just have to decide if it's something you care about or not.
And that's just what you do. And if you just do that long enough, then eventually it'll hit the right audience, the right consumer, that then will start to. And that's what Rohan's now found with these pages and your own, and I'm sure a lot of your friends have as well. Like, you find that niche quite quickly. I guess you guys have an extreme niche because would you say it's like, it's not oversaturated, hey?
I definitely wouldn't say it's over. I mean, there's definitely like a really kind of lots of people are kind of making different content now. So they'll just put a camera in their mouth and they'll get a really cool angle, but in the community it's not seen hard, but it appeals to people watching. It's like, wow, that's such a cool shot. People will post a lot of straight jumps now, which are off 20 meters with a camera in their mouth, which to everyday people look really cool, but in the community it doesn't. So I think for me personally, for me now anyway, it's hard for me to post something that I don't really care about and that the community doesn't really care, because then I'm just doing it for the views solely. But I definitely get why people do. And it's a good way to kind of build up.
For sure. Speaking of things that the community cares about and something that's kind of going viral on its own wave right now, which is closely related to cliff jumping, can you give a brief explanation and kind of like a distinction between these clips of guys that are going headfirst into the water?
Yeah.
I think
What's it called? Is this the Dodds thing?
Yeah.
Dodds.
So it's called deaf diving.
Why is it Dodds? Why is it that?
So Dodds it's a Norwegian sport. Dodds in Norway means deaf diving or deaf or something around there. And it pretty much means where you belly flop on your belly and then you tuck in at the last second. Yep. It's a really cool sport because, obviously you have to really mentally and physically train for it. Like these guys that are hitting the water, like they're so trained. And when it gets so high, it's like, wow, like they have so much serious risk. Like even if they just don't punch in at the same time.
Yeah.
I've witnessed someone's like elbow pop out just from doing it.
Really?
30 meters. Yeah.
Oh.
Which was pretty gnarly because I was in the water for that. Yeah. They go in like that. But yeah, recently it's just been going crazy. A good mate of mine, Combe, broke the deaf diving world record, which is 44 meters.
Oh.
You're hitting the water at over 100 kilometers an hour.
How did he come out?
I think it was all good. It was
He's
good.
chill.
But
I think he was. Surely he'd be a bit winded though. You'd be like,
I reckon he would a little bit.
It.
Yeah, definitely feel it. But it's a weird one because I think the record will just keep going up. I think.
What do you normally what's like considered like a high cliff jump for you?
A high cliff jump?
Yeah, like the Red Bull comp.
Yeah.
What height was that?
I'd say for me, trying new tricks, I think I honestly like 24 to 25 meters because it's a perfect time that you have a really good amount of like time in the air to be able to like finish everything and hit some really crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if you do land a little bit under, a little bit over, it's not the end of the world. Worst case scenario, you might potentially kind of puncture or do something if you land a little bit under or a little bit over. Obviously, if you're straight on your back, you're definitely breaking something. But I think when it comes to 30 meters, if you can break a leg if you land straight. You know, your knee can just pop out like that. And I've seen like a good mates of mine, like that's how a lot of things happen. I know someone that jumped in a waterfall, for example, and got blinded halfway down. It was like 25 to 30 meters. And they just didn't know where they were because the waterfall was going down.
That would have been scary.
And they just didn't know when to tense. So I think especially for, I think 25 meters is a high jump. I think 30 meters is a really like, more of a like kind of a serious height, I'd say.
What's the highest you've seen someone do?
I think it's pretty high, but it's not too crazy. I think it was only in person. It was 33.
Yeah.
Which was it was cool to watch, but I think I almost regret not doing it. But I had the competition afterwards, and a 33 meter already is like it's a huge cliff. And like again, like you could land bad and hurt something, but. Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, I think one day, 40 meters would be really cool.
Yeah.
And only.
What's the world record?
For a flip especially, it's around 50, 54. I think for a flip. For a straight.
Do you know who did it?
It was back in the 80s.
Ah, for real.
When they
back in the 80s,
but,
not old school Donnies.
Yeah.
Is there even a video of it? Is it?
Yeah.
All right, we'll get it out.
But I think straight jump, just a normal straight jump, it's 58 or something, 59.
right.
But he broke his leg. So personally, I wouldn't count it just because he broke his leg.
What sort of height does it get to where like your body literally, no matter what you do, it won't be able to take the impact? Like, are we talking like once we get up into the 60s, mid 60s, 70s? Like, what sort of height is like I guess?
I mean, it depends. I think if an everyday person jumped off even like a 20 to 25 meter cliff, they could definitely break something. I think a 30 meter cliff, like if an average person just jumped a 30 meter, I think like there's definitely bound to something to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you have to do to ensure? Say tomorrow, I'm walking along, boom, cliff.
Yeah.
My next step, what do I need to do whilst I'm falling to ensure that I am safe?
Just make sure your hands are in, your feet are in.
So you tuck them in like that?
Yeah,
like
tuck them in like that. I think for me now, it's all because I always do flips. I never straight jump, and I think it's all just kind of muscle memory to get them in and to tense really hard.
What do you do with your legs? Are you having them out like that? Like
have them out like
or
that.
Straight?
I point my feet, kind of tense my toes so they don't break on impact.
Are you wearing shoes?
No. So another kind of myth, which is weird in cliff jumping, so many people will wear shoes when they're first starting out because they're worried of their feet slapping. But when you kind of get better, you never really have to worry about that because you slightly point them. And I mean, I guess they just get tougher in general, but when you slightly point them, I never feel impacts on my flat foot. So like it doesn't matter. I'd prefer not wearing them.
Yeah.
What do you do to like the water going up your nose? I didn't need like give you a bloody headache or pop out of your bloody eyeball or something. But imagine at 100 kilometers an hour or whatever you're hitting this water at 60 or whatever you're saying. Like that'd be bloody. I'm in the pool, bro, jumping in, and it's like bursting through my ears.
Yeah.
Does that ever happen? Like, is that a thing?
Sometimes, yeah. Especially for me, I get a lot of like blood noses sometimes where water shoots up and I just my nose starts bleeding. But not really. It's not. I don't really feel it too much. I think fresh water sometimes gets up there a little bit easier.
Is there a different density in fresh and salt?
Yeah.
What's more dense?
More dense would be fresh water.
Okay. I'd always think.
Does that mean it slows you down faster?
Hang on, let me think about it.
I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest.
No, I think more dense would be salt water, and salt water obviously brings you up more.
Yeah, yeah.
Fresh water.
Oh, okay.
And that's the other thing. I guess salt water, even if you don't sometimes even if you don't have a wetsuit, you'll float up to the top. But with fresh water, you sink so much quicker.
Yeah.
And you can even notice it while swimming sometimes. But yeah, I mean, impact wise, I think some people say fresh water or salt water is worse or heavier. But I think for me anyway, it's more about like how I land, because sometimes you can be like a degree or two off, and every impact is different. Like I've had my hardest impact ever was ages ago when I hit my first 24 meter, for example. I just wasn't as strong, wasn't as ready for it. And even at that high, like it just hurt so much more than.
Where'd you feel it? Like just whole body, just like.
I think pretty much knees and back. Yeah, mostly.
So, are you doing any like gym work or stuff for your joints?
So, I guess a good thing, I still do trampolining competitively, gymnastics. So do that quite a bit, and I guess that helps with the conditioning a lot for cliff jumping. Whenever I'm on a tramp, I think it's like 3 times the body weight of the force, and I think that's actually really helpful for hitting the water. But apart from that, training legs quite a bit of core.
And then what about swimming as well? Because obviously you could be like an elite gymnast, have all the air awareness that you need to get to the water. Yeah. But then you hit the water and then you're like, oh. Yeah. So is that something you've had to train?
That's the other thing. Like I think, not really swimming. It's more about the kind of mindset of just staying calm. Right. I've seen people which
you're breathing.
Have jumped and they're fine, and then like in the air, and then they've hit and they're just so worried. They're just fearing for their life. But it's a unique situation where like you literally like it's all on you. You just got to stay calm and chill out for a while. And I think there was this spot that we went to the other day, and first it was pretty nerve-wracking where you landed. Every now and again, a huge wave would come in, huge set would come in exactly where you land. So if you don't get out there quick enough, you could be swept into a cave. And I think so for example, sometimes you're in the water for 5-10 minutes. I think that kind of comes into the fitness side of it.
Right.
The cardio.
Yeah.
Just being able to tread water.
You don't need like pretty much any cardio for when you're actually jumping, but I think it's definitely helpful to kind of have a decent amount for when you're getting out.
Yeah, because
like
that would be exhausting.
Yeah, it can be. Like I've seen people which like have like just barely kind of made it out. Not really as much in person, but especially kind of on video where they might land and then they're like, holy shit, it is so much harder to get out than
well, that's why I think it's important that people listen to something like this and be able to, you know, connect with people like you who have been in the sport and know what they're doing, because it just seems like there's so many variables that someone for the first time probably wouldn't think of when they go and do their first cliff jump. So I'm glad, especially with the page, that you're getting that information out there.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to do, I think there was one other video that you sent. Oh no, there was two. So this one with the train.
Yeah.
So the train you've got.
That was a crazy one.
Another dude.
Yeah.
You basically said 3.
So we had the original idea to do a triple gainer, synchronized off. I think it was like a 23 or 24 meter bridge.
Yeah.
And already doing a triple gainer off that height is like, that's like a big trick alone. So doing it at the same time adds such like another kind of complex level, because you have to time it at the same time, and a lot of your kind of concentration is on the other person. But then we got up there and we were like, a train was coming, and we were like,
wait, so you didn't plan for the train?
We didn't plan for the train. We were just going to do it without, and even without was already kind of like sketchy and like just like gnarly as it is. But then when the train came, it was like, holy shit.
Was
like,
it shaking?
Yeah. So it was, and not as much on the top, it was more the loudness. It was so noisy that you could hardly hear anything, so hard, like, and that was the whole way
When did
down.
you decide? So you've gotten up there. So the train is coming. How much time did you have till it got to you?
Probably 45 seconds.
So you both just went, we're doing it when the train comes. Get the clip.
Yeah.
And then but you wouldn't have, actually, I'm going to turn the volume up now on this. We'll have the volume when we edit it into the clip, but I just want to hear it. Oh, it was even had the horn going.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been sketch. Because if you had fallen off that backwards.
Oh, yeah.
That train would have cleaned you
pretty
up.
careful. The climb up, though, was pretty sketchy.
How did you climb up that?
There was just like a steel beam kind of going up like that, and we just kind of went like that. I think getting up now, I remember...
Wait, you just like climbed up?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty scary in a way, but I think 2-3 years ago, I remember like anything like that would have just scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Even just climbing up like any like ordinary kind of cliff where if you really fall back, like you'd hurt yourself badly. But I think when you do it a bit, you kind of, your body kind of get used to
training.
Yeah, you kind of get used to it, and you kind of just trust it a bit more.
Yeah.
That you know that like...
How often are you jumping?
Like on a just regular basis?
Yeah, like once a week or?
Yeah, so it depends what time of year it is. I think we usually, instead of doing, I'll do it once a week, for example, it's more of a, like, it's about kind of getting a trip organized. Let's say it's a week, let's say it's 2 weeks. And then on those times, you pretty much train every day. I'd say when I'm here, especially in summer, I'd train at least like once or twice a week. I think when I'm here though, especially, I think it's more about just kind of training up all the drills and all the things that you want to hit. And then when these tours come, you hit the really hard stuff on these really cool and unique spots that you've never done before. Because it builds such another like kind of level of hype to it. And there's so many more people, it really kind of fires you up to do something, where sometimes when it's just like a small group, it's a little bit hard to kind of stay motivated in a way. I think for me personally, I'm pretty driven. So when I want to do something, it doesn't matter how many people there are. It's more about doing it for myself.
Yeah.
But I think when, like, I've definitely seen where, like, the hype's not, like, as there and people just won't want to do it because they're not getting hyped up.
So it's pretty special to have cliff jumping in Australia, and then also in Tasmania, you've just ran an event. So can you talk us about or through how you got the athletes down here involved and then organised it?
So yeah, the competition in it was on the east coast of Tassie. It was a really cool special event.
What spot? Where was it?
It was. Do you know the old wood chip mill in Tasmania?
No, I don't. But is it in?
It's in Tribana.
No, I know where that is.
So it's off the water a bit.
Near Marais Island. That
yeah,
place,
near
isn't it?
Marais Island.
Yeah.
It's kind of in between Tribana and Marais Island. It's this really old wood chip mill, and we got permission to have an event there, which was really cool. But it was really hard, kind of doing all the logistics around it. Myself and a few other people kind of helped organize it, but especially being one of the only people down here organizing it. Had to make sure everything was good there. We built a big platform. There was a lot of work that went into it. There was no road access for the actual wood chip mill, for example.
You built a road.
No, so we
You built a road.
No, we
we
built a bridge. So we had like a ferry kind of service going. So we
really?
got a few boats, hired a few boats. And it was kind of hard to work out how many kind of trips and stuff that we could do, but it turned out really well. I think there were about 10 to 12 athletes competing. A lot of them came from around the world. We had really good judges as well. So I think it was really special.
What was the prizes? What do they win? What do you win usually if you win?
It depends what competition it is. I think for the competition that we had in Tassie, I think we put about 3 to 5 grand into just the money, and then like the money if you come top 3, and then like other things. So like if you won, you'd get a free trampoline worth like another 3-4 grand. So yeah, I guess it kind of just depends on each competition what their budget is. But I mean, yeah, it would be really cool one day where it's like a 20 or 30 grand budget.
Do you want to do? You obviously want to do more of them down here.
I think so. Yeah. I think the one that just happened, I was in more of an organising role and not really kind of switch on to the athlete mindset.
Did you jump as well?
Yeah, I did. I jumped once. So there are two rounds. I jumped once. My first one, I just don't think my prep on the day was that good. Yeah. Because I was so busy doing everything else, I just didn't feel that right. I landed bad, but I had no impact whatsoever. Even though I landed bad, and I've like never really landed bad. That was my first fail ever. I was doing something really hard, to be fair.
What were you trying?
I was actually doing the same thing that I did in Europe.
Yeah, right. So
the quad.
The quad.
Yeah. And what happened? I'll get the clip up. What happened was the water was really dark and the clouds were really dark that day. So for any other if triple flip, double flip, that's fine. But for a quad or higher, it's really important to be able to see the water each time you're going down, because you can spot you're like, 1, 2, 3, 4. But this day, it was really similar color balances, and I hit the flip.
Oh, so the water looked like the clouds.
Yeah.
So you could. Oh, true. You could
really.
Oh, that'd be scary, bro.
It was really hard to see. And I wasn't. Again, I didn't really have much time to warm up. I didn't really think about it as much. And yeah, I stuffed up really bad. I went really, really, really quick straight away, and I just got lost. I didn't know where I was in the air. This is like a 25-meter jump. And I'm hitting the water at like 80 to 90 kilometers an hour. I think I kind of knew around the kind of halfway point I was lost. And when that happens, it's only happened this is pretty much the first time it's ever happened, but I just kind of stayed in tuck, and I had no impact whatsoever. I pretty much landed like a death dive.
Yeah, right.
You'll see.
2, 1, send it! Oh, shit! No.
I don't know if you.
Wait, can I?
So was that the same height as in
That
Europe,
looks
or was it a
massive,
different
bro.
height?
Yeah.
Was it similar height to the one in Europe?
Yeah, similar. But in the one in Europe, I had a lot less rotation. In this one, I had so much more, and I actually ended up doing. I got so lost that when I tucked in tight, I ended up getting 5 round.
5.
Yeah.
That'd be more than Olympic divers.
Yeah.
That's
way more.
crazy.
So I did. Yeah, I ended up like when I hit the rotation so quick and I just couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
I just held on for a bit longer. I don't think I was as present in that jump.
Right.
Like again, I think.
Oh, you did. You just got the last.
Yeah.
So it goes. What? Wait. Yeah, you'd already like
Yeah, dude. I finished the first like 4 within
1,
20
2,
meters.
3, 4.
So that was 5.
That was 5. What is that called? A pentaflip?
Quint.
A quint.
Yeah. But
Jeez.
it was supposed to be 4.
They would have known up there and been like, "Oh fuck, he's like overdone it." Do you reckon?
Yeah. You can hear the audio. No, go back a bit. Oh yeah, no. There we
Oh
go.
shit. Yeah, they're a bit wigged out.
But it's funny enough because I've had impacts where I land straight on my feet and have had such a worse impact than that one.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing, I guess, about obviously it's really rare that things happen, but I've seen a lot of people fail off, like I've seen a few bad fails off 22 to 25 meters, but they're fine because they know almost what to do if they do land bad and they condition their body kind of for it. If any random person landed like that, for example, they would have probably like broken their neck or something, right? But because I'm so kind of more trained for it, that it it didn't feel, it was literally like no impact.
Well, no one even really, apart from those guys up there, everyone else is like clapping and stuff. Yeah, flips and shit. Yeah, going 5. Yeah, going off. Yeah.
Shit, so
man.
I think next time if I want to do a comp, I definitely want to step into more of an athlete role, and I think it just kind of proves why you got to really just lock into that mindset, because if not, if you just kind of rush something, almost what I did on that day, too busy doing other shit.
Yeah.
I think it's, like again, it's really important to just get in that mental state.
Especially with something like
jumping.
that.
Definitely.
Something where you just saw then it just can go wrong or right so quickly. You need to be in such a dialed mindset. Even before in that video, I was never seen Rohan look so serious.
Yeah.
Just dialed.
Like.
But the event was a success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was like the main kind of thing I wanted to take out of it. I was personally pretty bummed that this happened, because I was kind of like a favorite for top 3, I'd say at least. And when, and I had some really big tricks I wanted to do. That was the first one, so that was actually considered the easy one. I was actually pretty comfortable.
You wanted to send it out on a bloody...
So I was pretty comfortable with that one. Well, I thought anyway. But yeah, so I was a little bit bummed that I stuffed up at the same time. Like,
what was your thoughts
event was a
afterwards? Like
success.
when you've gotten out, what was your first thought? Were you just like pissed off? Like,
it was a little bit of tiny bit of shock, like what just happened, because I've never done something like that before. I've never stuffed up like that, even off 10, 15 meters. Never got lost that bad. So yeah, it was a little bit of shock. It was a little bit of like I was a little bit angry, but at the same time, I was like, how am I still all good?
yeah,
like,
just thank God I'm here.
How am I okay after
Yeah,
that fail?
yeah.
Because usually, like, I don't think I've seen many people land that way and been fine.
But even the way you went into the water, the reason that you stayed tucked and held in is because of the muscle memory in your training.
Yeah,
so because most people probably open out like that girl did. That we saw.
So most people,
and that'd be
flinging
worse.
back. Yeah,
definitely. So most people, I think when they get lost, they just open out and hope for the best. As soon as I knew I was lost, I held onto a tuck because it's almost when I landed, I was almost in that kind of. I think I tucked and then I like just opened out, almost like a death dive, and that just protected like everything here.
Is that something you learn in trampolining? Is it a similar technique?
A little bit. I think for me, yeah, personally, I always kind of used to kind of stay. My kind of thing was always stay and tuck, because when you're out, you have so much more weight and everything on your back. Let's say like if I land like a cliff jump, my back compared to like in a tuck, like everything is just so much tighter and more tense. I think it's definitely a good way to go about it.
Unreal. Do you have like a trick? What are some tricks that you want to hit this year?
Yeah.
A bucket list.
Yeah. So I think I really want to hit. It's pretty confusing. Really want to hit a frontwards, front 360 front flip, and then another front flip with 2.5 rotations. So all up it'd be 3 flips and 3.5 spins.
What is that, like a...
That'd be...
What's 360 times 3.5?
So it's 1,260 degrees.
1,260.
Pull up his Insta. Get him to show a clip of you doing some twists. Yep. There's one. It's like you do a miller or like a full into a miller or something. It just looks like you're twisting the whole time.
Yeah. So I want to do this, for example, but off a bit. Hang on, sorry.
I find it so hard to even comprehend from a flipping background what you're doing.
Show us.
So in
3, 2, 1, send it!
Oh. Where was this?
Let's go!
That would have been cool.
So I want to do that, but add an extra 360 end.
Whoa, that
would
one
be
was
cool.
nuts. Have you posted that one?
Yeah.
I like watching it, the slow-mo.
Yeah. That was a really technical trick, and no one has, I think that was the world's first, actually. No one has ever, I think a lot of my kind of technique is a lot different to others, and when I twist and how I flip, it's not traditional, especially with the gainers, where I go gainers and I just twist for so long. When people saw that in Europe, it was like, what just happened? That is just so like, almost like random, you know? It's like doing
That's
that,
nuts
doing
to
a
be able
normal thing, like a normal backwards thing off like a 15 meter would be crazy enough, let alone doing a gainer off like 25, you know?
Oh, for sure.
I'll show you.
It's nuts. Like it's all like your arm movements and your body and how you rotate your shoulder, and it's so crazy, isn't it? I'm just like watching it in slow-mo.
The air awareness for twisting would be so much more difficult than just overhead rotating. I want to say you do a flip now.
Bro, I could not flip. I'd fuck myself up if I even tried to do that shit.
So yeah, for example, this is probably, I'd say like technical. Like I do a bit of like technical, I'd say is more kind of twists and a few flips, I'd say. But then at the same time, like technical can definitely be heaps of flips. But I'd say technical wise, this is definitely probably one of my hardest tricks. It's not as many flips, but so many spins.
Yeah.
I think it was all up, it's 1,440 degrees of spins. So it's 2 flips and 4 360s.
All in a row?
Yeah, while they're going gainers.
Show me this.
So how many in the first flip and then how many in the second?
So
this is just from standing. Why didn't you run up with this one? You couldn't?
Because for some tricks, standing you get more power.
Yeah, okay.
Especially with that one, because you want to kind of go more straight up to get all the rotation instead of go out. Like I would not be able to do that running at all.
So full in.
And you had your legs crossed there. Is that a thing that you train for as well?
Yeah.
Crossing your legs like that. Does that help or something?
It doesn't really like help as much. It's more just something to speed up the twist.
Yeah.
But then whenever I land, I make sure I comes in again.
Yeah. So it was 2-2.
Yeah.
2 in each flip.
Yeah, but
360s.
in my head it works more as a 360 and then a triple full.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
Right.
So the guys go underwater as well. You can see this spotter here.
Yeah.
As soon as you land, he head underwater.
Yep. So spotters often go underwater to make sure that they have a good visual on them.
They're wearing goggles or.
This dude's raw dogging it, man. He's got no goggles. He's just going.
Yeah. No, it depends.
This dude's, I've just zoomed up. Mate,
Funny enough, that's actually the deaf diving world record holder.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
He's on 40. Yeah, he was sputting.
You're just about to hit the water.
And that was actually that was a cliff where I open out after Dammy spins and all I see was his face.
Yeah.
I almost made eye contact with him.
Is that the one where you were like,
Yeah.
oh, I was a bit close?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you are actually pretty close to him.
Yeah.
Didn't really noticed.
It was pretty funny.
Oh, you're about 2 meters away, I think.
I think I was about a meter.
Really?
I think so, yeah. But it looked even more when I was kind of going down,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Especially that fast.
Shit. That is nuts, bro. What's some spots you want to hit?
Yeah, I mean, there are some really
Gelling.
kind of, I think a lot of them, especially around like America and stuff.
Have you been there yet?
I haven't. I really want to go. I think, especially the cliffs that I've grown up watching, I think would be really cool. Which is so unique, and I definitely want to go kind of higher almost. I think not sure yet, but I think at least a 35 meter would be cool. 40 meter would be insane. But I think if I was to hit any of those heights, I think the cliff would have to mean something to me.
Yeah.
For me to want to do it, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't just look at like a random sketchy ass cliff and just want to do it, you know? I think it really has to kind of mean something to me.
Yeah.
And I think, that feeling of even like the impact of the 35 or 40 meter would be very heavy. So I'd have to train for it for a bit before actually getting to that point.
Yeah. Man. That's pretty dope, bro. Honestly. I don't know how you do what the fuck you do, but you do it bloody well. You've got a massive... For people that are watching, Rohan is only 18. You are 18? Or are you 19? 18.
Yeah.
When I first met Rohan, he was 17. Only 18 doing this shit. Huge career ahead of you. I don't know if we really missed anything. I feel like we've really had like a... like an all over. It's been a way different pod to how it usually flows real cohesively. I think it's just because... I definitely am just so interested in it, and then a question pops up in my head. I'm like, oh, yeah, true.
It is something you just want to ask more and more about.
Yeah. Is there anything, I don't know if we...
Is there anything you want to say, Rohan?
Yeah.
About your journey, what you're doing, what's coming up?
Trying to think.
Well, I think it looks... Yeah, you're on definitely a path that is only excelling whilst it's also... I was going to make some excelling whilst you're still going down because you're jumping. Excelling.
Yeah.
Save the bars for later.
No, it's sick, bro. It's sick to see. I said we were having a chat before. I was like, oh, I'll have to come out next time you do it because you go to that blacker spot a fair bit, eh?
Yeah, sometimes.
Go out there. I'm not going to jump at all. I might do like a 5 metery.
We'll make sure he jumps.
We'll film it. If it's before this pod
safely
comes out, we'll put it in a clip of it in the pod.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, I reckon that's that. We ended on that. What do you...
No.
What would be...
I appreciate it.
I asked this question, and it's a really good one, I think. Last podcast we filmed, but we're not going to release it. But you're sitting there, let's say 18, let's say 30, 40 years from now, you're watching this podcast. What do you want to say to the future you right now?
Good question.
It actually is.
I think I just to make sure that to my future self, hopefully that I just kind of kept going after stuff that actually meant something to me and not just doing it for something else, you know. I think it's really important to do something for yourself And wherever this takes me, I'm quite keen. I think the main, and just being able to do it with like-minded people.
Yeah.
I think the thing that kind of, especially in cliff jumping, that kind of keeps me going, especially, is just the people.
Yeah.
The people that you meet. I've been fortunate to meet some amazing people that have some amazing stories, and I think being able to just kind of keep going on that path, I feel like there's just so much knowledge to be gained from every kind of aspect of life. You know?
Yeah, 100%, bro. And I don't doubt that you're going to do some pretty crazy shit, man, in this life. If you're only 18 and already flipping off 30-meter bloody cliffs and traveling the world. And yeah, it's sick, man. I'm really keen to see where it takes you with your career, your profession, and personally as the growth that you'll kind of be able to journey throughout. It's going to be dope, man. But thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It's been definitely a different sort of potty, which is just interesting. And I mean, I'm only just learning and growing through this, but I think it's going to be awesome to start the year with this podcast drop.
Yeah.
For anyone that's watched this far, all Rohan's socials will be linked. No doubt everyone that's watching already has it. But if you don't, they'll all be there. Follow Rohan. Get to the events that he puts on in Tassie. Get about it. He's doing some really dope shit. 73Ts, the 333T. These will be dropped by the time this episode comes out. If there are any left, head to the website, cop them. Support the podcast. This is pretty much how we do it. We don't ask for much, and you don't have to. But if you'd like to support it, get about the community, head to our website. We've got our T-shirts on there. Go get them. If they're not sold out, if they are, I apologise because we only made a very limited amount of them. Yeah, bro, that's episode 10 in the books. Done. Cheers, brother.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Stuff, bro.
Let's go.
Let's go.